This 2008 includes Mental Ray 3.5, which introduced a few new features, an overall increase in speed, and better memory management. The main new features are the new sun and sky, and the new architectural and design and car paint materials. In this first video, we want to show the user interface changes and the overall improvements in usability. Altogether, these new features and improvements make Mental Ray much easier to use and will give you great renderings with minimum efforts. If you work mainly with Mental Ray, remember to set your defaults to design with Mental Ray, so most of the common settings will be preset for you. So let's look at the changes in the rendering dialog. In the Renderer tab, there are some minor changes. The temporal contrast is gone, replaced by much easier to understand time samples in the motion blur rollout. And also changed is the maximum subdivision parameter for displacement, now showing the number of faces per subdivision rather than an unclear iteration number. But the major improvements are in the indirect illumination tab. This is where the really cryptic stuff was and where we spent a lot of time trying to improve our renderings. Final Gather has been moved up and completely revamped. And the reason is that with the latest improvement of speed and quality, you will use it a lot more often. First, you have presets, one single click to set the relevant parameters correctly for speed or quality. Use low or medium for most of your renderings and high or very high for those rare super high quality renderings. Keep in mind that the new Final Gather will give you better results than ever before, even with low settings. Draft with only 50 rays will still look very good. Let's give it a try. Now artifacts, despite the very few Final Gather rays. The multiplier lets you globally increase or decrease the Final Gather diffuse light. Let's try doubling its effect. We keep a copy of the previous rendering and render again. As we will see in another video, the new architecture and design material will become your main material for all projects, but being physically correct, global illumination effects might sometimes seem low, so you can boost them when you're after a nice visual effect rather than physical accuracy. The increased diffuse light is clearly visible, and the other parameters control the number of rays as before, but the way they are interpolated now is different. You choose how many you want to interpolate for detailed or smooth results. A new setting is the diffuse bounces. Final Gather rays can now bounce off surfaces to create more accurate diffuse light effects. Let's keep the previous rendering and try this time with 3 bounces. Rendering takes a little bit longer, but look at the increased realism in the bounce light around the curved wall and the side of the building. The Final Gather preview mode is still here, now called draft mode. The old parameter filter is now called noise filtering or speckle reduction, so we don't forget what it's for, and the Final Gather map management has been simplified. A freeze option was added to make the map file read-only. Some changes in the GI rollout too. We get the same multiplier parameter for caustic and GI photons. We have a new option to merge nearby photons so that when the density of photons in an area is very high, they can be combined and much less photons need to be stored. The photon map management has been simplified too, and the global energy multiplier has been removed, replaced by the separate multiplier for caustics, GI photons, and Final Gather. So the user interface changes we've seen make setting up Mental Ray much more easy, but let's not forget that there are big improvements in Mental Ray itself that make it easier to get higher quality and faster renderings with less stress and parameters tweaking.